And welcome to another episode of Shop Talk down here at Page 3's Game Zone. I'm Nathan Varney.
And I'm Aaron Sawyers.
And today we're going to be taking a look at Constantine the Hellblazer #1 from DC Comics, and that will be going on sale on Wednesday, June the 10th, 2015. Primary writing is split between Ming Doyle and James Tynion, and the primary artist is Riley Rosmo. I really have to say that I feel like I until just then, because I didn't realize that there were two art writers in the book, like officially. But when we're going to discuss here, I'm no longer surprised. Like that tells a lot of what's going on. So we'll come back to that in just a minute.
Maybe one wrote the beginning and the ending, and the other wrote the rest.
So. Story opens here with John Constantine, I feel like a very unusual looking, and not because the book opens with him naked. Now you don't
in blood,
see anything, but he's covered in blood, standing in a men's clothing store,
which is how the TV show opens up.
Yeah.
We're right.
Yeah. So he gathers himself and gets cleaned up. Then as he's strolling down the street, he's talking about needing to take a break. Is being followed, almost mobbed by ghosts.
Tons of ghosts.
Particularly Gary.
Yep.
And Gary wants to know about. Is trying to tell him about Frank. Now I'm not sure who either of these are, who Gary or Frank are, but. This is the very first Constantine book that I've ever read. Now, I really enjoyed the television show, so my interest was piqued to read this book.
I'm in the same boat.
So, okay. So, if these are recurring characters, I'm unfamiliar with them at this point. But nonetheless, aside from, obviously, from Constantine, but if Frank or Gary were previously recurring characters, I'm unaware. But nonetheless, so, basically Constantine tells him to bug off. And ducks into a diner to get away.
Yells at nothing.
He starts yelling at nothing. The waiter comes over and is like, "Hey, maybe can I at least get you the special?" They converse a little bit, and just as the waiter is asking out Constantine, Blythe appears. And is like, and basically rains on his parade.
Says he's busy tonight.
Takes him to her and her business partner's establishment.
Yeah.
She, is like, I need some help with these imps, and of course he's kind of confused as to why she would need help with imps. She says, well, I can't do any banishing. Or soul harvesting, I think were the two things she said that she was unable to do.
Part of her contract.
Part of her contract for being back on Earth. So they go through the 9 floors of this building from top to bottom. Yeah, the 9 circles, the 9 floors, and they get to the basement and find her business partner. She reveals that she just used Constantine to banish him
so she can take the business.
So she can take the business from him. Of course, he's upset. The business partner is upset, and Constantine starts to banish him, and then pretends to not remember the words.
Yeah.
Blythe finishes the incantation, banishes him. She gets banished as well, and then you cut back to him being out and about. Well, not out and about. It's like the ghosts, his ghosty buddies, appear in that room, and Gary says that Frank's dead, dead for good, and that it's Constantine's fault.
Yeah,
the end.
He said something had tore his soul apart, and it was killing the rest of the ghosts that helped Constantine.
Yeah, and that's the book. And that part that you just mentioned, and the first part, I think, were the most interesting parts of the book, I have to say, for me, the only interesting parts of the book.
The ghost.
Yes.
Yep.
So you have 2 or 3 pages at the beginning and 1 page at the end, effectively, about this something going on with Frank that Gary's blathering about, and that's it.
Yep.
Then one of the two, either Doyle or Tinian, I feel, must have written the other, because I thought to myself, my God, this is 2 stories here that I didn't feel like went together.
Yeah.
And before we started recording, I know you and I had talked, I mentioned that maybe that everything that happened with Blythe will make sense in the future, but I still didn't feel like that it fit in this book.
No.
Like they should have just went with the story, either went with the story about Blythe or went with the story about Gary and Frank.
I probably would have, Gary and Frank, I really wasn't interested in the old Blythe story.
No, at all.
It did not draw me at all. But this bugs the crap out of me. I know, was it Superman Batman did this for a short bit? They split the comic down horizontally.
Oh boy, I don't remember.
Yeah, they had like Superman's story on one side and Batman's own story on the other side.
Yeah.
And that kills me. And this, I feel like it takes away from the reading, because you're reading the book this way, and then suddenly you have to turn it sideways to read this, where they're going down the establishment and they're going the different levels. And I feel like that takes away from the experience when you have to stop to turn the book.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that didn't really bother me, and I get the effect that they were going for.
Yes.
But I do agree with you in a way that I did still, even though I got the effect, I did kind of still feel like it was very unnecessary.
Yeah.
Still very unnecessary.
I think they could have done the same effect. I mean, I understand that they wanted it to continue down, but I feel like they could have done the same effect from one page to the next.
Yeah.
Would have been fine.
Yeah. So, but I felt, even if these two writers did not separately write the 2 sections of the book, it felt like that it was written by 2 different people, even before I found out at the beginning of this video that there was 2 people. I did not feel like that it had a very cohesive story.
No.
So, and as you and I have both got at here, I really felt like that they should have told the story about Gary and Frank.
Yeah.
I was actually interested in that.
Yeah.
The entire rest of it was mediocre.
Like
yeah, I just felt like it was.
Like it, I personally am okay with it.
I feel like it's too grainy.
Too grainy.
And maybe they're going for the effect of like an old film, like film noir or something, and that's fine. That would be appropriate, but I don't know. I still just don't like it in a comic book. It can be pulled off in a different way, but
and that's understandable.
So just don't care for that. I just don't like it. It did not keep me from reading the book.
No.
I still even though I saw the art going in, I still wanted to read the book. So it wasn't that bad. Now there was another book that came out that releases tomorrow that we looked at earlier. Not to throw it under the bus, but Weird World #1 from Marvel as part of the Secret Wars.
Really?
It's my least favorite art style, and I'm sorry. It is not a personal offense to the artist. It's certainly not an offense to anybody that does like it, but I just don't. I just don't like it. So, but so here for this book, Didn't care for the art. I didn't like the story split up. I would like to know what happened to Frank, what Gary was getting on about, but I'm not sure that I'll read issue 2 to find out, because I'll be afraid that it went this way. So, and that's so unusual for me. For those of you that have watched some of the other videos, or even have talked with me about comics, it is rare for me to not be interested at all in reading at least a second, if not a third issue of a story to give it a good shot. But this just kind of let me down, and I also just kind of feel like I did not care for regardless of the art style, I did not care for the look of Constantine.
They have a very young look, almost too.
A really young looking man, a very like pretty boy looking face.
Yeah, a few times it looks like they try to throw this stubble in there, but it doesn't. With the art style, it doesn't come off very well.
Yeah, I mean the hairstyle it looked like it was a very well kept hair.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I said, I know my only real experiences with the television show, but having seen a lot of Constantine books over the years, and seen various and sundry depictions of John Constantine in other books, I just really don't feel like this didn't feel like I was reading a Constantine book, like what I would have anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, the hairstyle is actually almost exactly like what they did with the Joker. The same hairstyle.
Yes.
The comb back and the buzz sides.
Yeah.
So
there's not anything wrong with the hairstyle. I don't think it fits
Constantine.
At least what I have known in my view of Constantine. So,
personal opinion, it has potential. It could get better. That's my opinion.
Well, it could get worse for sure,
but it
could get
worse.
better. So I mean, it's not terrible. Like I said, it's not that I'm not completely disinterested in reading the second issue. It's just that I'm not really interested either. It's like, if I've got them in it when it comes in, I may check to see. But all in all, I actually kind of have to. I'm so very surprised to find myself saying this because of how much I enjoyed the television show. And normally, like movies, shows, and stuff don't paint this, but being that this is my first reading experience with Constantine, I'd have to give it a pass. Issue 2, this series based on issue 1, I would have to give a pass.
I don't know. I would probably pick up issue 2, but depending on how that goes, I don't know about past that.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the same boat. I mean, the TV show is the biggest part of my experience with Constantine. So, I mean, I've seen a few little things here and there, but that's it.
And notwithstanding, I know I've mentioned the show a couple of times, I truly do believe that had I never seen the television show, that I'd still feel that way about this book because of the choppy story and the choice for art. So,
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for me at all.
I'll stay. All right, anything else?
No, I think that's all for this one.
All right, well, thanks for watching, and that'll wrap up another episode of Shop Talk down here at Page 3's Game Zone, and we'll see you next time.
Me.